StitchyTube, settle down and watch StitchyTube. Hey, I never spun around in my chair for you guys before. I love it. How are ya? We are at StitchyTube number what? Like 31 now? Lucky number 31. Who could believe it? I sat down to make my notes for StitchyTube today, and I realized, like, I got my notebook out. I have a notebook that I keep my notes in, and I took it out, and I went and did something, and I came back, and I couldn't find my notebook. And I couldn't find it, and I dug, and I couldn't find it, and I was like, you know what? I'll just get the other notebook. And then, of course, when I was almost done making my notes, then I found the original notebook. But I can't find the questions that accumulated from last time. I only have one question that I know of for sure, and I'll mention the answer later. So I may answer, if there were questions that I missed from last time, I'll catch you next time. So I'm going to start today with what I'm all into. I have a chiropractic appointment in about an hour and a half, so I have to kind of keep this at a length where I can zip over in the car. I have fibromyalgia, and so I'm sore a lot of the time, and I just recently had trouble where my neck was super sore, and I was getting a lot of clicking. Like anytime I turned my head, it was like a ratcheting, click, 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 click. And I know I almost didn't even tell you guys because I'm like, oh, people are going to be like, oh, don't go to a chiropractor. My uncle's head popped off, or something like that. I'm just trying it. The guy that I'm going to is very gentle. It's actually making a huge difference. He doesn't believe that going to a chiropractor can prevent root canals or anything crazy like that. He's like, oh, I can help you with your neck and your spine, which is reasonable. So I'm kind of all into that right now. It's helping. It's not something I plan to do super long term, but I'm finding a lot of relief that way. I'm into Jelly Pop shoes. I got a pair here in town once, and I have to be really careful about the shoes I have because I have bad feet, and I find that I have toes that are like claws. And so I have to have flexible shoes, and the top of the shoe can't be like real stiff because the tops of my toes then rub against the shoe. So fabric shoes are perfect. Like loose fabric shoes with a bendy sole are perfect. I can't find shoes usually. So I'm going to take my sweater off. It's going to be too hot. It's going to be too hot, guys. I'm too hot. So I found these shoes called Jelly Pops at the local store, and they were like $20. And I really liked them, and they helped right away. Like they were good right away. But they're starting to wear out already. And I wore them to the retreat I went to in Minnesota. And I'm like, ooh, my shoes are not in good shape. Whatever. So I got 2 pair on Amazon recently. I got some red ones, which I'm super stoked about because I love red shoes. And they're just fabric. They're like $20. Jelly Pop. I'm sure they're made for children. I got them in a size 10. I wear a size 10 shoe. I'm a tall lady. And so they're great. I haven't worn these yet. One of the other cool things is that this back part has like some stretch to it, so it stays on your heel really nice, and it's really just meant to be a slip-on shoe. You don't have to lace it. So I got red ones, and then I got some, kind of black denim-y kind of looking ones too, and they're really great. And because they're so cheap, I can buy more stash, I guess. So I'm into Jelly Pop shoes. I'm all into Bath & Body Works candles. This week they're on sale. They may still be on sale yet Saturday. I don't know about Sunday if you have a local Bath & Body Works, but you can also find them online, I think at bbw.com, I think. Grumpy, what do you think? She doesn't know. She's a cat. So candles were on sale half price, which I love, and I get the coupons. If you sign up to be on their mailing list, you get coupons in the mail, and so I combine those. But this year, they've got a line of candles. This is crushed candy cane, and I think the art on this one especially is really cute. It's kind of like a knitted thing. It smells really good. Smell? It smells really good, and the lid is a cross-stitched snowflake. So I haven't given instructions to my family. If you use the candles with this lid, don't throw them away, because I think you could use them to finish ornaments. If you made something that was round, that you could build it up on the inside, put a hanger between the 2 layers, and then the back of it would be this cross-stitched snowflake. I'm thinking something Lizzie Katie, but I don't know if she's got anything round, so I gotta see. But even if she doesn't, I don't know, to me, doesn't that look kind of Lizzie Kate-ish? So their candles are great. I worked at a Bath & Body Works, not in the too far distant past. Before we, about like 15 years ago, I worked at Bath & Body Works. I was a stock girl. It was super fun. I did it as a seasonal job. It wasn't that I needed the money. I just I always liked Bath & Body Works, and I thought it would be fun just for the season. And I ended up working there part-time for 3 years until we moved, because it was really a fun place to work for and a great company to work for. I'm going to give you a couple of tips about candles just in general, because you learn things when you work places. One of the things you want to do when you get a new candle is commit to a good long burn the first time. So, sometimes when you get a candle, you light it, and then in subsequent lightings, it just creates a hollow tube all the way down, and it doesn't use up all the wax. What you have to do the first time you burn a candle is make sure you burn long enough that the entire top is melted, like in a jar candle like this. And then that way you're setting the candle up to just burn that way every time. You don't really want to burn a candle more than probably 2 or 3 hours. And when you get one, you want to snip it so that the candle wicks are just about 1/4 of an inch long. Otherwise you get really high flames, which can create a lot of like black soot around the edges, and it's just not very safe. So 1/4 of an inch, and you can trim each time with just a scissors. I have found that once you burn it, if you want to just, pluck the top of the wick off after, kind of black tip, you'll have to wash your hands afterwards, but about 1/4 inch is how high you want it. Never pick up a candle. A candle like this, if it's melty and you've got like melted wax this way, don't go and grab it and try to move it somewhere, because you're going to burn your hand because it's super hot. So just be super careful with them. But I really like burning a candle. I've got one burning right now. That's a summer one. I suppose I should get my Christmas candles out. So I'm all into those lids and the candles. They smell good. It has kind of turned into a candle-y store. I can't believe how many fragrances of candles they have, and the art is different on all of them. And sometimes you can find, like this series, crushed candy cane had this label with this lid, but I think there was crushed candy cane with different graphics. So if you are looking for this lid, look for this lid, but if you don't like the graphics, you can look and you may be able to find that same candle with just a different covering on the outside. Some of them are a little classy, some of them are kind of cartoony, so just look for that. Okay, I'm all into these Russell Stover Pecan Delights. They're so delightful. Got them at Corner Market, our local grocery store. They were set up at the front with the new Christmas stuff that just came in. I have gotten So I Like Pecans. I didn't think I did, but I do. A lot of times with candy, I want just a bite of, can I just have a bite? Like a bite is enough. In the afternoon, a piece of chocolate tastes really good. These come individually wrapped. They're delicious. They're not terribly expensive. I don't know how many are in a bag, but it's a pretty big bag. And so if you see these, they're really good. The caramel is like, kind of that string, pulley, chewy kind of thing. I wish it had a little more pecans in it. I feel like this is an oversell. I don't think I've really come across that many pecans in one of these, but they taste really good. And it's nice. It's just a nice little piece of chocolate. Not even it's like 80 calories for one, which is just totally fine. Okay, I'm all into my ham rock. So I was and those of you who follow me on Instagram, #KittenStitcher, @KittenStitcher. I was at the gas station the other night filling up my car. My husband needed to borrow my car to drive down to the airport to park it. He didn't want to park his car. His car is fancier than mine. So I filled it up with gas the night before just to help him out. And while I was filling, I looked to the side by the pole there, and I was like, is that a ham? And it's kind of dark outside. I thought maybe it was a dog toy. So I picked it up and I was like, oh, it's a rock that's painted like a ham. And I turned it over. I'll show you what it says. It says, post picture on Facebook, Hberg rocks, keep or rehide. And then it's got somebody's initials at the bottom. SR is what it looks like. So it's a rock that's shaped like and then painted like a ham. I doubt there's a person in Hattiesburg this could have been more perfect for. I have seen some of the other rocks, and now people are saying that in their communities there are similar groups that just do this. It's kind of just like a fun, it was kind of like a little thrill, like finding a little treasure that I wasn't expecting. I love that it's a ham. Like, it says keep or rehide. I'm keeping it. And if there ever is a day where I'm like, you know what, I've had my fill of ham rock, I'll rehide it. But I really like my little rock that looks like a ham. I didn't know I wanted one. I didn't know. But I found one. There it was, you know. Like, you just never know what the universe is going to throw you. Okay, I'm going to a new exercise class, and it's for people with medical issues. And there's not very many of us. It's at my gym. It's included in the fee. And so I went for the first time this week, and they were like, okay. She said, okay, what's your issue? And I told her, and she's like, okay, well, we're going to set up an appointment so I can really just kind of get your history and everything. But for tonight, just jump on in, and don't push yourself if something is not, comfortable or whatever. So she was like, okay, we're going to start with some cardio. So I get on like the elliptical, and I'm like, okay, I can do this, because I pretty much have been doing just the bikes. So I'm doing the elliptical for like 90 seconds. And then this other teacher comes in and she goes, hey, I thought you guys were going to come to spin class tonight. And she goes, oh, that's right. Everybody, we're going to spin class. So I was like, okay. I mean, I think I know what spin class is. I think you just get on a bike and you just pedal the bike and you go faster or slower, or you increase the resistance or whatever. So spin class is hard. And the lady who taught it is like 25, and she's in good enough shape that she's teaching a spin class. And so I'm one of those people that I was like a teacher's pet. So I want to focus in on the teacher, and I'm like, I'm going to do everything you do. You tell me to do it, I'm going to do it. And so, it's like, okay, I'm sweating. This is okay. I can do this, pedaling. And then she's like, okay, now stand up. So I'm like, okay, this is harder. And she goes, crank it. So, you crank it so there's more resistance. And I'm like, I'm now dying. But I'm trying to keep up with her because she's like 1, 2, 3, 4. And she's got the music going. It's real jazzy. And then she's like, okay, sit back down. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. So then she's like, crank it down. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then she's like, stand up again. And then we're like leaning over the bars, but still standing. It was intense. And my legs started shaking, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And then I looked at the guy next to me who was in our special needs class, and he just was sitting and pedaling. So I was like, you know what, Therese, you don't need to impress her. So I just kind of slowed it down. I still tried to do what she was doing, but I just took it a little easier. So anyway, I'm in this class. It's kind of fun. Okay, I had a list of 10 for this week, and I came up with this list so quick. Lately, I've had a number of people contact me about like, hey, I'm interested in opening a cross-stitch shop. Would you be willing to answer some questions? And I'm always interested in helping people out because there aren't, there can never be too many cross-stitch shops, I don't think. And I did it for a long time and am doing it still. And so I thought I'd share with you 11, actually. I came up with 11 pieces of advice that I give people who are interested in opening a shop. And you may not be interested in opening a shop, but maybe you might be interested to know like the kind of the things that I tell people, and maybe it will give you kind of a new perspective on what it means to like try to run a cross-stitch business. Okay, tip number 1, and I think it's probably one of the things that I tell people almost right away, is carry what you know and like. So I'm reminded, I taught a class occasionally at a local kind of business college back in Fargo. And it was an entrepreneur class. And I don't remember how the person who taught it found me, but I would go in and speak to the people about, running a business. And I remember there was this couple, and they were interested in opening an online store of some sort. And so they were like, we don't know what to sell. And I was like, okay, well, do you have hobbies? And they're like, not really. And are you interested in something? Do you know a lot about? Well, I don't know. And they were like, we've been kind of thinking, and I don't remember, they threw out something, and I was like, well, what experience do you have that? They're like, not really anything. It's like, how do you expect to, when you run a business, especially a small business, people are going to expect you to be able to answer questions and know things. You can't just like say, well, what is it that people are buying, and then try to guess. So I always tell people, just carry what you're familiar with, the designers you like, the fabrics you like, the companies that you're comfortable with, and then expand from there. It's, I think people sometimes are like, oh, I'm going to open a cross-stitch store, but I think maybe I'll carry knitting or quilting supplies too, because those sure seem to be popular activities. But if you don't know about knitting, how are you going to know what kind of yarn to carry, or if people have questions about like, how do I do this stitch? You're not going to know. And it's probably going to be a bad idea for you to put money into that kind of inventory. Another piece of advice, number 2, is to just ask for help. One of the main questions I get from people is, how do I order stuff? Like, how do I get an account? And the way that I got accounts when I opened my business back in 97 was I took out my stash and I put it on the table and I just started calling phone numbers that were on the backs of things. So like threads, charts, that kind of thing. And I just started calling businesses to see. So I always just tell people, just really, these are just people. Just because they dye threads or dye fabric or, distribute charts doesn't mean they're fancier people than anybody else. It's just their job to sell you stuff, and they want to give you an account. So if you need help or have questions, ask your supplier, contact the designer if you have a question, ask other stitchers, ask other shop owners. Number 3, I almost always tell people too, is to get over the idea of clinging to your inventory. I think sometimes people who open needlework stores may not have a business background, which is fine. I didn't either. But I think they get kind of tied to the idea of, well, I paid good money for this inventory. It's been here for 6 years. Nobody's bought it, but I'm not going to discount it because I paid good money for that. And cross-stitch materials or needlework materials can be a little like fruits and vegetables, in that after a while they just don't look as good as they used to, and they're not worth as much. Not always. I mean, things like thread lines and fabrics and things you can maybe have for a little while longer, unless something's like real trendy 1 year. But I've been in shops where they're just choked by their old inventory, and they don't get in a lot of new stuff because they don't have the cash flow. So what happens is people go into the store and then they come back, and when they come back, they're like, oh, this is all the same stuff that was here the last time I was here. And then you kind of just get out of the idea of really seeking out that shop, because it's like, oh, they're not really keeping up with what's new and popular. Once you've paid for something, like if you paid for something as a shop owner 6 years ago and it hasn't sold, it's probably not going to sell unless, there's something that crazy that happens on YouTube. So clear it out however you need to. Do grab bags, have a clearance section, whatever you need to do to get rid of it, give it away to a customer, whatever. But you need to move some of that inventory, make some cash. If you paid for it 6 years ago, even if you get half of what you paid for it, it's still cash in your pocket that you can turn around and buy new inventory. Number 4 is try not to sweat the small stuff. I feel once again that a lot of times people who run needlework stores can feel like they really want to pinch pennies and conserve and make sure that, I'm making money on everything. And so sometimes things will happen like, they try to pinch pennies in such a way that they're like, okay, I don't sell online, but I had a customer who called and she's, wherever, and she wants me to send her this. So I'm going to figure out how much money it is to ship it, plus how much money was the envelope, plus how much money was the tape that I used to close the envelope, plus how much gas am I going to use going to the store. Don't do that. It's not worth your time, number 1. And number 2, there are going to be times where you may come out on the lower end of things, but it all works out. You know what I mean? You have to think of things like, so if somebody asked you to do them a favor, like, hey, I'm normally a walk-in customer, but I'm spending a month at my mom's house helping her. Would you stick this in the mail? That's good customer relations to help that person out. And so go ahead and, if she's a really good customer, say, you know what, I'm not even going to charge you to ship that. No big deal. And you spent maybe $3 and a little bit of your time to ship her something, but now that person is, has been loyal to you and will continue to be loyal to you. So don't those little things, don't worry about so much. Not a lot of times. Sometimes I will accidentally send somebody the wrong thing. Like I had somebody order a couple of weeks ago an Agnes sampler. It was a sampler that had the word Agnes in the title, and I forgot that I've got two Agneses on my site. One is a Blackbird Designs Agnes, and the other one I think is Pineberry Lane. Well, I sent her the wrong one. I just saw the word Agnes and I grabbed the wrong one and sent it to her. And she was like, oh my goodness, I'll send this back. And I'm like, nope, you know what? Keep it. If you don't want it, give it to a friend and let me turn around and send you the right one. And then what you've done as a business owner is you've turned kind of an inconvenience for that person. They've had to like reach out to you. You've made a mistake and you turn it into an, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's so generous of you. And so it's really taking something that might have been not a great interaction and turning it into like, it feels like you got a gift. And it's a nice thing to do. Number 5, go to market. Nashville Needlework Market is the place to go. There used to be more markets. Nashville is a cash and carry market. As a shop owner, it doesn't cost you anything to get into the market, but you would obviously have to pay your travel and your hotel, and then you're spending money there on things. But if you're a new shop owner especially, going to market is going to give you connections with people in the industry and help you learn a lot about how it works. Number 6, watch FlossTube. I feel like there are a lot of stores that haven't kept up with FlossTube. They kind of, at Market last year and even at Galleria in October or whatever month that was. It seems like such a long fall already. That you kind of mention it to designers or other shop owners and they're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of aware that there's a thing. They have no idea what a big deal it is. And so, as a shop owner, it's good to watch just because you see kind of what people are interested in, what people are talking about. You can be like, oh, everybody's, all interested in this thing that's just come out, or there's a resurgence of this thing. Then like, hey, maybe I want to get 3 or 4 of those in just to make sure I've got them in case anybody asks. It just kind of keeps you in touch with what stitchers are doing. Especially if you've got an online store and you're not getting face-to-face time with people. I feel like FlossTube can be a really valuable tool to watch not only, but also to participate in if you want to create your own videos. I think it's a good way to help people get to know you and see what you carry and, just develop a relationship, which is a good thing. Be careful with classes. That's number 7. When I had my brick and mortar, I would occasionally get people that would stop in and they would say, oh, do you have classes? And I'd be like, oh, no, but I really should. Would you be interested? Oh, yeah, I'd totally be interested in taking classes. So I would organize classes, do mail outs, advertise online. No one signed up for the classes. Or if people did, it was like a couple. And all these people that are asking if you have classes, what they're saying is, it's my understanding that sometimes hobby stores offer classes. I am trying to make conversation with you and wondering if you have classes. That's a lot of times what people are saying. I think really until you get to know your customers and maybe develop a good, list of potential, people to take classes, be really careful with, really putting a lot of time and effort into designing, creating a class, because you just may not get a lot of participation. It may not be worth your while. If you do decide to offer classes, I definitely would recommend having people sign up, plunk down the money for the class at the start, because otherwise there's no incentive for them to show up. And we all know what it's like at 20 minutes before you should leave to go, you know what, I'm not going to go. So just be careful. Don't not have classes. Just really think about it. Number 8, don't let one customer tell you how to do things. And I think sometimes people, in fact, even just my mom and I were talking on the phone today, and she has got a friend who's a big quilter. I mean, she's a prolific quilter. She's not a large quilter. And they just got a Hobby Lobby near them and they didn't have one. And so she went in and she wanted to find, Mom said black on black fabric. So I don't know what that is. To me, that seems like it would just be black fabric. But she went to Hobby Lobby and looked at their selection and she was like, they don't have exactly what I was looking for. And she's used to going to quilt shops. So then she stopped and talked to the person. I don't know if she talked to a manager or someone in that area and was like, if you're going to offer fabric, you better, carry what things, the basics. Would be a basic. Those big box stores, they don't get to decide what they're ordering. Corporate sends it to them and that's what they get. But I think a lot of times with a small business, just like with the classes, people feel like they're being helpful or making conversation and they're like, oh, what you really should carry is blah, blah, blah. I had times where I let somebody talk me into, carrying something. And I don't even think that person ended up buying any of it. Carry what you want to carry. Tell your customers what you like. If you really get a lot of, if you have 20 or 30 people that are like, hey, do you carry this? Maybe that's a good sign you should. But don't let one person dictate to you how you should do your business, how you should operate, what you should carry. You're the shop owner. It's not that you, now don't let me, I don't want to make it seem like, you should just disregard anything that a customer says. I think it is very caring sometimes when somebody wants to help you by suggesting something is what I'm saying. But don't change how you're doing things because one person had an idea. You don't have to. But be thankful that they wanted to try to help. Get to know other shop owners and designers and distributors and things. It's great to be part of a community. It's not a competition. So like, I'm a designer and I have a shop online. I don't wish ill for any other designers or online shop owners or regular shop owners. I think we're a big community, and it's really nice to have people, like even just Jen's got an online store here in town. There are times when we're like, hey, do you have this in stock? Because I thought I had one more and I don't, and we're able to help each other out. And it's also good just to be able to refer people. If somebody says, hey, do you carry this? You can say, oh no, I don't, but here's who does. I think it's good to get to know other people that are in the field. Let's see. Okay, number 10, and this is going to seem similar to what I said, is carry what works for you. So a lot of times, I think when you're starting, you're like, I have no idea what people are going to want. But you kind of end up cultivating with what you carry the clientele that likes what you like. So it's not that I don't like let's say Mirabilia designs. I think they're lovely. I have some in my stash, but it's not really it's not really the look that I'm going for, and it's not the kind of way that I want it to go. But let's say, like right now in my shop, I have 2 Mirabilias that I personally have in my stash, which is winter in my garden and autumn in my garden. And there's also a spring and a summer. And they've sold out right away, and I got more in, but now I'm thinking, I probably should get the spring and the summer in also, because it seems like people are wanting those. So you can let successes dictate which kind of direction you go in. So like, let's say if I got in, XYZ designer, because I was like, I love these. And it's like crickets chirping and you don't sell at one. Well, maybe you could do a couple of things. You could try to educate your customers on those, make a couple of models, show them on your FlossTube channel, do a sale at the counter, you know what I mean? Like try to increase where they are, where people are seeing them. But sometimes it doesn't work out for whatever reason with your customers. And so if things are selling well for you, maybe get more of that. And if things aren't working so well for you, it doesn't mean you can't carry them, but maybe don't order 12 in of each one. Number 11, just because I was almost done with my list, and then I was like, this is one more, which is look for the unique. So a lot of times, things like charts are great because those of us who have stores sell a lot of charts, but the charts are kind of everywhere, and people know kind of from business to business, like, I want to get this chart. I'm just going to get it over here. You can kind of get it anywhere. Maybe you go to somebody that, has a sale or a discount or something, but try to carry things that are unique, things that are maybe unique to you. Like I've been dyeing fabric and it sells very well, and it's a reason for people to keep coming back. Maybe you get some accounts with some kind of decorator companies, or like Lindy at the Silver Needle carries the linen clothing and Vera Bradley bags, and that has worked really well for her. So if you kind of specialize in a few, like, hey, I really like this kind of things, people have a reason to come back because you may be the only store that they know of that carries whatever that is. So that's my list of 10/11 ideas for people who might be considering opening a shop. But I think really the main piece of advice is just ask. Like if you don't know the answer to something, no one's going to get angry at you for asking a question. My kids, I try to teach them when they were smaller. Neither one of them really like to use the phone too much. My husband doesn't really like to use the phone. But when I was a kid, my mom made us call stores all the time. She's like, call the store and find out when they're open. Call the store and find out, about the sale. People, if it's their job to answer your question, they're not going to make you feel bad about yourself or be angry at you for asking a question. So just anytime you don't know the answer to something, don't try to guess or figure it out. If you really need help, just ask somebody for help. And people love to help other people. Okay. Stash flash. I got a few things that came into my stash in the last little bit. One of them isn't really necessarily a needlework item, but I'm using it in my store. I use cardstock, decorated like scrapbook paper cardstock regularly in my packages that I send out to people. Here, I'll show you an example. I'm still here. I'm just over here now. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm getting something to show you. Okay, so like I sell these little jingle bells on my shop. And I just, do cute packaging with cardstock. So I do that. I have little tags that I put on the fabric that I sell. And so I'm always on the lookout for cute kind of cardstocky things. So Hobby Lobby has their, had some Christmas cardstock that I really liked. This one is called Have a Cozy Christmas. You can see it's $12.99, but pretty much all their Christmas stuff is either 40 or 50% off all the time. So, for $6.50, I got 60 sheets, it looks like, of just really cute Christmassy papers. And then I liked this one too. This one is Winter Wonderland. And this is kind of more like the retro, kind of, I don't know what you call it, like 50s vibe. But so that's something that I got. Now I'm using those now to do some packaging. Okay, I got, where did it go? I was on eBay and I found this chart, Sampler Folk by Barrick Samplers. And Kathy Barrick has named her business a few things over the years. She's been Kathy Barrick Designs, Barrick Samplers, Chart Makers, Carriage House Samplings. I saw this and I was like, oh, I remember that one. I like that one. It's Sampler Folk. Super cute, right? So I got this on eBay. It came from Keepsakes. I sell this in my store. So this is my giveaway this week, is this chart that I sell in my store. So if you would like this chart, it's the question that I'm asking is, what projects are you working on for Christmas? I'm working on something for Jen and something for Sue. And I guess I'm going to show one of those later in this video, and I'll show another one later. But anyway, so this is the giveaway for this week, is the Sampler Folk chart. It's cute. So just tell me what you're working on for Christmas gifts, and then I will pick a name at random next time and send it to you. And then I'll do the next giveaway in just a little, or last week's giveaway in a little bit. Okay, so that was stash that I'm passing along. I got, I bought a Peter Pan piece a while back from Mrs. Peggotty Arts on Etsy. I'll put a link below to her shop. I'm reading Moby Dick right now, and she put this up recently, and I favorited it, and then, had it there for like a month, and I was like, you know what, if she sells that to someone else, I'm going to be really sad that I didn't buy it. So I bought it. It's an original drawing. It says Moby Dick, and it says, I try all things. What does it say? I try eyeballs. Yeah, I try all things. I achieve what I can. Herman Melville. And so this is an original, and it's done with like pastel, or not pastels, but like colored pencils, I think, and watercolor pencils. I think it's really, really pretty. I love it. I love it. I love just the mood of it. So I'll put a link to her shop below. She regularly does pieces of art like these where it's an original, kind of a one-of-a-kind. I think she's got a Charlotte Bronte one up right now that's really pretty. I got in the mail this week something that I bought a few weeks ago. I think I was the only bidder on this one. It's an antique sampler I got on eBay. And it's super faded. And I like that it's super faded. And when I chart it, it's going to be charted. I want to call these ghost samplers. So what happened with this is this hung somewhere and it has bleached out. And you're left with just kind of tone on tone, which I think is so pretty. There's no name on this and no date. I would put it probably between 1820 and 1845, maybe. Who knows? I love that there's just a lot of space. I love this border is so cool. And then there's this cutoff, and then there's this section below. I just think it's really interesting and unique. And it was, I paid almost nothing for it. But I'll show you just because here you are, and you might want to see. This is what the back looks like. And so her colors on the back are visible. And so I think if and when I chart it, I will also include the colors, you know, kind of a color key to what, if you wanted to stitch it in the original colors. So anyway, you can see though the back, it looks about like my back, but it's just kind of neat to see. It was very neatly, it's hem stitched, and it was very neatly, it was laced. But I took it off because it's just on this board that's, I'm sure, is not acid free. I don't know how long it had been framed, but I'm just going to get it in a better place. So that's my stash flash. That's my stash splash. Okay, so the giveaway last time was a shepherd's bush kit that I picked up at the Midwest retreat. I picked one up that I already had in my stash. I guess just doubles are my thing right now. The winner of that kit was Rebecca Clash. Rebecca Clash. And I asked what you're all into right now. She said she's all into dyeing fabric, and she actually had a question for me, which was, can you dye fabric with blueberries? You can. And I haven't done blueberries. I did strawberries way back a long time ago, like 24 years ago. Tried strawberries, and it turned out. But if you go on YouTube and just like Google, can you Google on YouTube? Okay, go on YouTube and do a search for you know, natural dyes, dyeing with berries. There's a whole bunch of videos on stuff like that. And so if you're interested in trying it, there definitely are places that you can look up how to do that. Okay, I'm going to talk about my whips at the end of the video because I've got something that I'm working on for Jennifer and I don't want her to see it. And she may watch this video. So let me talk a little bit about the zine. The zine is coming along. And I estimate it's going to be about 2.5, 3 weeks or so until it's ready. I've got just some amazing people that are being featured and designs that are going to be in there. I do need things yet from my viewers. I've been getting them, but I'd like more if they're available. I need pictures of people with samplers that they've stitched. It does not need to be a reproduction sampler. It doesn't need to be finished even. If it's something that you're working on, you can include that. You can include a picture of maybe somebody that you know, like a grandma or something with something that she's stitched, or your mother, and to be included in the zine. And then also, if you know of any like needlework retreats, classes, gatherings, exhibitions relating to samplers, or it doesn't necessarily need to be, if it's just a stitching retreat that's going to be going on. If you're a shop that you've got classes coming up, or you're hosting a retreat and you'd like to have it be in the zine, I'd be happy to put it in there. Other news is last week I announced the beginning of a fundraiser for Southern Pines Animal Shelter to help them build an enrichment center for the pets that are there. Right now, the space that they're using is just right next to a washer and dryer. And so what they're trying to do is set up a nice space that's disinfectable and kind of just more permanent, more solid. And what they'll do with that space is keep animals happy at the shelter, give them activities to do. There are a few ways that you can contribute. I'm going to put links below to the Amazon wish list, which you can send, and instructions I'll put below too, to send them things that they need to fill up the enrichment center. So there's going to be things like toys, catnip, peanut butter, treats, stuff like that. You also can contribute directly to the page that is accepting donations, and you can see where we're at. Right now we're at $1,200, just less than a weekend, which is amazing. The goal is $7,500, and I know we can do it. So what I want to announce today is that starting next week, there's going to be a section of my site called Stash for Cash for Cats and Dogs. Stash for cash for cats and dogs. And so the idea is everybody can give in different ways, right? Some people just were happy to just donate money, and I thank each and every one of you that has done that. That's wonderful, whether it was $5 or $50. Because there are so many of us, if everybody gave a little bit, we would get there in no time. Some people wanted to be able to send gifts directly, where they just said, you know what, I'm going to go to Amazon. I'm going to just send something that they have on their wish list, and that's wonderful too, because they need that as well. I wanted to come up with another way that people could give to the fundraiser. And so what's going to start next Saturday is there's going to be a section of my website called Stash for Cash for Cats and Dogs. And I'm going to have things that I list that are where the proceeds are going to go all to this fundraiser. But if you want to contribute things for the page, you can as well. So maybe you have things at home, cross-stitch items, needlework items that you don't want anymore, can't use, know you'll never get to, and you can send those to me, and I'm going to have a section of my site where those things are listed, and people can buy those, and once again, all the proceeds go directly to the enrichment fundraiser. So the kinds of things that I would suggest is UFOs would be fine, and send as much as, everything that you're willing to part with to go with that UFO. But you can also send charts, kits, fabric, threads. They need to be in, not chewed up condition. So pretty good condition. Obviously, if things are older, that's okay. If you want to send things like charts from 1979, where it's like a goose with a blue bow, I'm probably not going to find buyers for that. But what I will do with things that I'm like, oh, this, I don't know that I'm going to find a buyer for this, is we've got a thrift store that also supports the shelter, and I will take those things to the thrift store, and they'll sell them there, and that money all goes back to the shelter as well. If you want to send me pieces of fabric, like let's say you've got a half yard of 14 count Aida, and you're like, I don't use Aida anymore, I will dye it and sell it on that page as hand dyed fabric. And, just to kind of spruce it up a little bit. If you want to make things, if you want to make some needle minders or some project bags or scissor fobs or Christmas ornaments or whatever, flat fold, whatever, you can send those. If you have little pieces that you've finished but you haven't, FFO'd them, you haven't fully finished those objects, you can send those too. Let's see, what else? Okay, I also wanted to announce, let's see, did I get to everything there? UFOs. Okay, so I used to be Raise the Roof Designs, and I know a lot of you know that already, but I designed a piece a while back, and I'm going to put a picture here, called Christmas Land, and I designed it for Sharon Crescent of Crescent Colors back in the day, and we had an agreement that it would be kind of her exclusive design, and, it was sold as a kit for a long, long time. I have had numerous people contact me. When will you ever release that? I can't find it. I thought this would be I looked, and I still have the original charts. So what I'm going to do is put together the Christmas Land charts, and you will be able to buy for $10 the chart to all 4 pieces of Christmas Land from my site, either as a download or as a download. There came... Once in a while, the Midwest in me just goes, oh, download. You'll be able to buy the Christmas Land chart, either as a download or as a chart for $10. And I will donate all of that money to this project. And so that's one way for you to get it. And I think it's not going to come with buttons or silks or anything. I'll do a conversion to DMC just in case, people don't want to buy the Belsoir or whatever, but we're going to just use this money to help the pets. And this is a way of me kind of meeting a need, helping you find what you're looking for, but I don't need to make money off of this. I would just as soon donate it to the shelter. So look below for links on how you can contribute. If you're interested in sending me something, contact me at my email address below, and I will give you my address. I don't want to just put my address out here on the interwebs for people to, I don't need a parade in my front yard, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, so that's that. And if you have questions about what to send, I don't really want, quilting fabrics. It needs to be needlework related, specifically cross stitch if you can. Obviously, if you maybe had a Blackbird Designs quilting book or, something like that you felt like it was, I guess what I'm going to say is whatever you send, if I feel like it's appropriate to the page, I will include it with a price, and you can suggest a price if you want to. But if I feel like, oh, this isn't really quite what I was looking for, it's going to get donated to the thrift store, and it will end up helping the shelter in any regard. And so that's that. So stash for cash for cats and dogs, and we're going to get our way to that $7,500 goal. Okay. Oh, I forgot one of my stash flash things. Back up to Sampler Motifs and Symbolism. I used to carry this in my store, and I never got one for myself, and then it kind of went out of print, and I kind of forgot about it. And then, you know, I'm working on this zine, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to remember the symbolism for something, and I remembered this book, so I went and got this on Amazon, and I want to say I paid $35 for it, which is, I think about what it was when it came out, to be honest. It was made by Patricia Anderle and Leslie Rudnicki of Hillside Samplings. And she has a lot of great charts. And you can see with this book, you get these 4 charts that she designed, which are lovely. And I did not remember that inside the book is a reproduction of a Dutch sampler. And it's so pretty. So I'm going to show it to you here. Let me flip through and find. Right there. Pretty? Pretty. Very pretty. And so you get all 5 of those charts in this, and each page, I guess I don't want to show the pages because there's a, I don't know. Well, it's out of print. I don't know how to do this, people. Every page has like symbols. Okay, I'm just gonna, let's do this. So I'm gonna make it so that you can't see all of it. Each page has, like, this says eagle, and then it's got a chart here of an eagle. And this is elephants, and there's a chart of elephants. So not every motif, but a lot of the motifs will have a chart that goes with it so you can stitch one. And so each listing is like, you know, like here, falcon stands for pride or nobility. If there's a fan, you know, like this kind of a fan, it stands for romance, flirtation, or the changing moods of women. Ooh, the changing moods of women. I'm going to make a fan sampler. But anyway, there's like, you know, fishing ladies, flowers, and sometimes it'll say there's really no meaning behind this. It is what it is. Grasshopper stands for old age. See also locust. Oh my goodness, let's see what locust is. Hijkl. Oop. Locust isn't in here. I feel like I got, okay. Missed out on locust. I don't know. Anyway, I'm all into the changing moods of women right now. So that was my additional stash flash. I didn't sing my That's What I'm All Into this week. That's what I'm all into this week. Sorry. Okay. Oh, Marlene from Stitching by the Lake, who I think is wonderful, this week was doing, you know, like crinkling papers, and she was like, I feel like Teresa needs to write a crinkle song. So I'm working on a crinkle song. I'm working on it. I like crinkling of packaging. I think that's cool. So Jennifer, if you're watching, please bow out now because I'm going to show some things that I'm working on, which includes something for you. Let's see, am I still, okay. I got to leave in about a half an hour. I'm doing good. I worked on, this week I had a couple fibro days, which was a bummer. I wanted to do a hang with me video again last Sunday. And it's weird. It's such a weird condition because some mornings you're just like, nope. Today is not happening, and I can get a minimum amount of things done. And then I'm still at a stage where I'm like, when I have a good day, I'm like, okay, I got to hurry and do all the things. I'm not learning to pace myself yet, is essentially what I'm saying. But I worked on this week, the Village of Hawk Run Hollow, and I worked on this, which I love brick houses, and I think it's so pretty. And it's going really well. So I'm really digging it. I watched some shows about Queen Elizabeth while I was doing that. And I don't know if you have it happen to you, but sometimes like when I stitch things, I associate memories with that piece. You know, like I can look at a piece and go, oh, I know in my life, I know what I was doing when I was stitching that. And like, for example, I haven't left you this one, and I know I've shown this before, was a kit that I had for a long time, and I remember really putting a lot of time into it one day when Graham was in, he made it to like the, you know, whatever city or regional science fair with his project, and I had to be there with him. I had to be there, but not sit with him, so I just sat, it was in a coliseum, and I just sat in the stands and worked on this. So that's a memory that's attached to this, is me sitting at the science fair and looking down on the floor and seeing all the kids getting, you know, asked questions and things. So that's just attached to this. And I have a piece that I stitched by Shepherd's Bush called the Potter's Garden. Let me write this down. Potter's Garden. And it's a kit, and it's still available, I think. I'm going to put a picture right here. And I stitched it while I was pregnant and had morning sickness with Graham. And it literally still makes me feel sick to my stomach. And so I gave it to my mom because I can't look at it without feeling nauseous. It's so weird. Anyway, so I was learning about Queen Elizabeth. So now Queen Elizabeth is probably somehow going to be tied to that sampler. So the piece I'm working on for Jen, because we have this sampler exchange, and it was actually due in October. I didn't get it done in October because I had a lot going on. So I started this week. It's a Brenda Gervais piece. I'm going to just put a picture right here. I love inserting pictures of things. I think it's so fun. And be happy, what's it called? Be happy, humble, and kind. I kind of liked that it had so much blue and kind of that olive green. So I started working on this week too, and that's as far as I got. But it's really pretty. I've got it in my shop. And I'm just stitching it on a scrap of whatever, just a 40 count fabric that I had. And I think it's going to be really pretty. The only thing I didn't realize is this ampersand right here is stitched over 1. And I'm on 40 count, so I'm hoping it doesn't look too bunchy. I may have to stitch it in 10 stitch. But I love this house on the little, I don't know what you would call that, like a little creamer or a little urn. But I love it when she does these like really angular skirts. I think if we all had angular skirts like that, it would hide our bulges. Just saying. Okay, I've got just one more section and then I'll let you go. I wanted to talk about 3 things in my shop this week, like I do every week. So if you don't want to hear about my shop, you can check out now. But why would you not want to hear about it? Because it's kind of cool stuff. I have more rusty things. You guys love rusty things. And I have rusty safety pins, bells, stars, jingle bells, tiny, tiny little 1/4-inch jingle bells that have been super popular. I love them. Well, I found, I think these are 1.25-inch jingle bells. So they're, you know, that's how big they are. Here is a rock ham for size reference. Not as big as a rock ham. So they do jingle, and those will be going in my site before I post this video, so you'll be able to get those. Just look in the, and so then number 2 is I started a Christmas section this week. I went through all of the, 1,200 things on my site and just put everything that was Christmas related into a section. So the jingle bells reside in the Christmas section. If you look in the menu bar at the top of my website at KittenStitcher.com, you'll see Christmas is on the left, like it's the first thing you see. And so I did put all the Christmas stuff together. I am so super into the Christmas mood. And I think part of it is I went to the Lucky Rabbit. Last weekend. I wasn't going to go, and then I went, and then I was glad I went because now I'm in the Christmas mood because it was all like Christmas music and Christmas decorations, and it was so cool. But one of the other rusty things I got, though, is these rusty jar lids. They're not old, but they're made to look old. And I had a pattern. I don't know if it's on my site. Let me look and see as long as you guys are here. I'm going to go to my website. Hold, please. We'll look and see if it's on my site. It's going to come up. So anyway, maybe. All right, store product. I really love, if you ever have anybody that's looking at building a site, I would highly recommend Wix. Nope, I guess I don't have it up. So I'm going to have to put this up before. Let me make a note. It's a little design that I created that you finish in a mason jar lid, an old zinc mason jar lid. Well, they had these where I get this other rusty stuff. And so you could make a pincushion or an ornament or shoulder pads. So they're really cool. And they will, like, you just get a tiny little bit of grittiness on your fingers. So they're not, just be aware that some of the, I don't know if it's actual rust or if it's something that they paint them with. I don't know. But they're in with the rusty things. And I have some other rusty things that I got into. Some rusty wire, some rusty plaques, some little tiny rusty, I I don't know what I would call them, basins, but they're really tiny and they're cool. I think Vanna, the Twisted Stitcher, on her website has a tutorial for doing the finishing in the mason jar lid. And you wouldn't have to use my design. You could use another round design, but I use this thing all the time. All the time. It just sits there right by my stuff, and I use it to put my pins and needles in. Obviously, because it's a pin cushion. Why don't they call it a needle cushion? I guess it's whatever. Okay, so that's 2 things. The rusty things and then the Christmas section. And number 3, and I'm going to just flash pictures here of the Prairie Schooler. I have so many Prairie Schooler charts in now, and I love that they're reprinting a lot of these older charts. She is like the queen of Christmas cross stitch. Like, I just love anything that she does that's Christmas or winter. It's amazing. And some of her older patterns have been reprinted recently by Hoffman Distributing. I'm sure a lot of you know that. Where the patterns may have been anywhere from like $5, $6, $7 to $8, $9. They're all just kind of a flat $12 now. And I know a lot of people have complained about the paper that they're printed on. It is what it is. And so, you know, you could have reprinted on cardstock if you wanted to. Once you get a copy, you can definitely make a working copy on something stiffer. I just think it's cool that they're available again, because a lot of these charts you used to have to, you know, go on eBay and then pay, I mean, if you wanted to, pay $49.99 or something to get some of these charts. As a stitcher, I think it's cool that I can, for $12, can get this chart that I might have had to pay $50 for if I still wanted it. But they're re-releasing a number of these Christmas charts of hers now. And then there are a number of Santa charts that you can get where you get multiple yearly Santas all in the same chart. They're called Santas Revisited, I think. I've got those in my shop too. But the great thing I think about the Prairie Schooler charts just in general is that they're pretty inexpensive projects. You can use just a little piece of fabric. You know, a lot of her pieces she just does on cream or white or, you know, whatever. And then it's just DMC. And you could sub out some of your pretty, you know, limited edition colors that you're collecting or some silks, but you wouldn't have to because the DMC is just as pretty. And I think they also make really great projects for people who are new to stitching, beginning stitching, or maybe you just kind of want, I don't want to say a mindless project, but there aren't going to be any specialty stitches, partial stitches, back stitching. You're filling in kind of bigger, blockier areas. And is it just me, or does Prairie Schooler always look good? Some of these charts go back to the late 80s. How does she do it? I don't know how she did it. They still look cute. The colors, the motifs, she nailed it. Like, she just found the style that doesn't age, and she created it. So I guess I just wanted to point out that I have a bunch of her Christmas stuff in, and some of them are some Christmas charts that until just now you couldn't get them anymore. And so I'm pretty tickled about that. Is that all I have to talk about? Of course not. I always have things to talk about, but that's all I have to talk about for this video now, because I have to go let somebody yank on my head for a little bit. I'm going to pay a man. What are you going to do this afternoon? I'm going to pay a man. Do you know this man? Kind of. Found him online. He's going to yank on my head, make my neck feel better. It really works. So that's it. So I want to say, have a good weekend. I hope to do a hang with me this weekend. Oh, wait. Huge announcement. Right now I've got free shipping on my website for people in the US. If you're not in the US, I've knocked the rate down to a flat $9. So that just goes until Wednesday night at 11:59 p.m. So if you place your order at 12, the hammer comes down. So free shipping, no matter how much you order. Some people, I used to do that with my old website, and I don't think I've done it yet. But the reason that I do it is a couple reasons. One is to just give people an incentive to order. Two is to just reward people that are kind of repeat customers, to say like, hey, here's free shipping. I'll just, however much it costs me, I'll just pop it in the mail to you. And also to maybe encourage people who maybe haven't shopped with me before to go ahead and try me out. And so I hope it helps you in some way. And free shipping. So just until Wednesday at 11:59. You don't have to do anything. There's no code. It's just for anybody who stumbles by. So if you have a friend that's, you know, has been needing something, refer her to my shop. She doesn't need to know anything special. It's just automatically gifted. So, all right, now I really am saying goodbye. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.